We're in Honolulu already, honey. Why didn't you come to the airport yesterday? My mother's syrupy voice on the phone made my stomach turn. I stood frozen in the middle of Dallas-Fort Worth International Airport, my suitcase by my side. As the truth sank in, they had deliberately lied about the flight date. My name is Ethan Adams, and I never imagined my own parents would stoop this low. I'd been looking forward to this family vacation for months. After a brutal quarter at work managing major client campaigns as a marketing director, this trip was supposed to be my reward. A chance to unwind, reconnect, breathe. What do you mean yesterday? I managed to ask, my voice trembling. You told me the flight was today at 2 p.m. I have the texts. The bustling airport suddenly felt suffocating. Travelers rushed past, full of excitement for their own journeys, while I stood still, the weight of betrayal pressing down on my chest. Oh, sweetie, there must have been some mix-up, my mother said, but I heard the lie beneath the words. Your sister got here just fine. We're already settled into the resort. Of course, Chloe made it. She always did. She was their favorite, their golden girl. I should have known something was off when they insisted on handling all the travel details themselves, said it would be easier. These were the same parents who asked me to help cover their bills every month, but apparently didn't trust me to book my own flight. This wasn't a mix-up, I said, my voice tightening as anger began to override the shock. You gave me the wrong date on purpose. You never wanted me on this trip, did you? Silence. Then, now Ethan, don't be dramatic. These things happen. I ended the call, my hand was shaking. Around me, families laughed, hugged and wheeled their bags toward check-in lines. I stood alone, abandoned by the two people who were supposed to love me most. The irony wasn't lost on me. For the past 2 years, I'd been sending them money every month, helping them keep their lifestyle after Dad's early retirement. I paid for groceries, insurance, even utilities, and still they excluded me. Looking at my useless suitcase, I felt tears burn in my eyes, but more than sadness, I felt something hot rising from my gut. Anger, not just about a missed vacation, but about years of manipulation, favoritism, and emotional neglect. And right there, standing by gate C21, I made a decision that would change everything. I've always wondered whether my parents ever truly saw me as a son, or just as their personal ATM. Growing up, everything was about Chloe, her dance recitals, her straight A's, her perfect smile. I lived in her shadow, but I never stopped trying to win their approval. While she chased an acting career on their dime, I was grinding my way through college and working nights. I built something real. Within 5 years, I was the youngest executive at my firm, managing top-tier clients and leading a team of 15. That's when Dad announced he was retiring early arthritis, he said. And suddenly I was covering not just my own life, but theirs too. Their savings had dried up after years of funding Chloe's failed acting career, and now they were struggling to make ends meet. Without hesitation, I stepped in to help. Every month, I wired them $2,000 to cover the mortgage and utilities. When unexpected medical bills came up, I took care of those too. Last year alone, I gave them over $30,000 money I had planned to use as a down payment on my first home. We're so blessed to have such a generous son, my mum would say during our weekly calls. But those calls always ended the same way, with updates on Chloe's latest audition or her new headshots. They never asked about my job, my life, my goals. Not unless they needed something. So when they mentioned a family trip to Hawaii 2 months ago, I was genuinely excited. Finally, a chance to spend real time together. They insisted on handling all the arrangements themselves. Dad had airline miles to use, they said. Don't worry about anything, they told me. Just focus on your big client meeting. We'll take care of everything. Like a fool, I believed them. I even transferred extra money into their account to help with resort costs. It's the least I can do, I'd said, imagining lazy days on the beach and family dinners watching the sunset. I really thought this trip might be different, that maybe, just maybe, they'd finally see me as more than their emergency fund. Instead, there I was, standing in the middle of an airport, with a packed suitcase and a hollow feeling in my chest. My phone buzzed. A new message. It was a photo from Chloe, her and my parents at the beach, cocktails in hand. The caption, "Family vacation begins. Missing you, bro. Wish you could have made it." The rage that surged through me in that moment was unlike anything I'd felt before. My hands trembled as I stared at the screen. Then I started scrolling through our old texts, trying to find any doubt, any wiggle room. But the pattern was clear, crystal clear. Every exchange about the trip had been carefully crafted to ensure I'd miss it. Flights at 2:00 p.m. on the 15th, Mom had written. But now, looking at Chloe's Instagram story, I could see their boarding passes dated yesterday the 14th, in plain view. This wasn't a mistake, it was a plan. A deception mapped out in advance, down to the last detail. My phone rang again. This time it was Dad. "Ethan," he said sharply, like I was a teenager who forgot curfew. "Your mother is very upset with your attitude. We made an honest mistake with the dates, and you're turning this into a whole drama." "You're a grown man, Ethan. You should understand these things happen." I laughed. But there wasn't a hint of humor in it. "An honest mistake?" I said. "Then why did Chloe know the correct date? Why did you both insist on booking everything yourselves? Why have you been lying to me for weeks?" "Now listen here," he began, but I cut him off. "No, Dad, you listen. I just checked my bank statements. Last week I sent you $3,000 for this trip. Was that a mistake too? Or did you just take the money knowing you were going to leave me behind?" The silence that followed told me everything I needed to know. "Ethan," he finally said, his voice softer now, trying a new tactic. "You know we're on a fixed income. We needed that money for the trip. You're doing well in your career. You understand what it means to make sacrifices for family, right?" My hands were shaking so hard I could barely hold the phone. Sacrifices for family. I'd been making sacrifices for years. I'd given up my savings, my dreams of buying a home, building a future, all to support them. And this was how they repaid me. "Don't be selfish," he snapped. "Your sister needed this vacation. She's been under so much stress with her acting career." "Her acting career?" I interrupted, my voice rising. "You mean the hobby you've been bankrolling with my money? While she lives rent-free in your house, the auditions that go nowhere while I work 60-hour weeks to keep everyone afloat." "That's enough," he barked. "I won't stand for this kind of disrespect. You've changed, Ethan. Money's made you cruel." And in that moment, something inside me changed too. The hurt didn't vanish, but it began to harden into something else. Resolve. "You're right about one thing, Dad," I said quietly. "I have changed, and things are about to change even more." I ended the call and opened my banking app. It was time to shut down the bank of Ethan for good. The drive home from the airport was a blur of anger and clarity. That night, I sat at my desk and pulled up every record I had. Screenshots of texts, bank transfers, even the emails where they promised the flight details. Then I opened a spreadsheet and started logging it all. When I got to the bottom line, my stomach turned. $47,800, that's what my parents' love had cost me. The next morning, I walked into the bank and closed the joint account I'd set up to make monthly transfers to them. Then I called my company's HR department and removed them as beneficiaries from my life insurance policy. Each step made me feel lighter, like I was finally breaking free from a set of invisible chains I hadn't even realized I was carrying. That's when the messages started. First came the guilt trips from my mother. "I can't sleep knowing you're upset with us. This is tearing the family apart. How could you be so heartless?" Then Chloe chimed in. "Oh my God, you're being so dramatic. It was just a miscommunication. Mom's crying every day because of you." But it was my dad's message that made their intentions crystal clear. "We raised you better than this. After everything we've done for you, this is how you repay us. Your mother needs her medication refilled this week. Don't you dare abandon your responsibilities to this family." I stared at my phone, stunned by their audacity. My responsibilities to the family? What about their responsibility to treat me with basic respect? Instead of replying, I sat down and typed out a calm, direct email. Subject: moving forward. Dear Mom, Dad, and Chloe, I've spent a lot of time reflecting since yesterday. The situation with the Hawaii trip wasn't a misunderstanding. It was a conscious decision to exclude me while continuing to accept my financial support. That ends now. Effective immediately, I'm cutting off all monetary assistance. The money I've sent over the years was a choice, not an obligation. You'll need to find another way to manage your finances. Please do not contact me about money again. I need time and distance to reevaluate our relationship. Ethan. Within minutes, the floodgates opened. My phone buzzed non-stop. Voicemails from my mother, sobbing about how they'd lose the house. Texts from Chloe, calling me selfish and heartless. Then my father's messages turned aggressive, warning me of consequences if I didn't come to my senses. I blocked them all. That night, alone in my apartment, the old guilt tried to creep in. Years of emotional conditioning made me believe that putting myself first was selfish, that boundaries were wrong. But then I remembered that moment in the airport when I realized they'd planned this betrayal and used my money to fund it. The next day, I got a surprise visit at work. My Aunt Rose, my father's sister, showed up at my office, sat across from my desk, and looked me straight in the eye. "I heard what happened," she said. "Your parents asked me to talk some sense into you." I braced for more guilt, but she surprised me. "What they did was cruel, Ethan. I've watched them take advantage of your kindness for years. It's time someone told you the truth. You deserve better than this." My throat tightened as she reached across the desk and squeezed my hand. "They'll try every trick in the book to pull you back in," Rose warned. "Don't let them. You're finally doing the right thing." 2 weeks later, Rose called during my lunch break. "Ethan, can you come by my house after work? There's something you need to see." When I arrived, she had documents spread out across her dining room table, bank statements, loan forms, credit card bills. "Your dad came to me last week asking for a loan," she said. "He let something slip that didn't sit right." So I started digging. What she found made my blood run cold. My parents hadn't just been using my money for groceries and bills, they'd been living large. Lavish dinners, weekend trips, even designer purchases. And they were relying on me to silently pick up the tab. "Look at this," Rose pointed to a credit card statement. "They opened this card 3 months ago. In your name." I felt the air leave my lungs. "What? Have you checked your credit report lately?" Hands trembling, I pulled up the app on my phone. There it was. A credit card with a $155,000 limit. Maxed out. I'd never seen it before. But it had my name, my social security number. "That's identity theft," Rose said quietly. "That's a federal crime, Ethan." I sat back, stunned. How could they do this? "There's more," she said gently. "You remember all that talk about Chloe's acting career? She's not in California auditioning. She's been living at home, working part-time at a local coffee shop. The money, they said, was for headshots and classes. They've been using it for gambling." The room blurred around me, every vague excuse, every urgent request, every guilt trip when I asked where the money went. This wasn't just emotional abuse, this was fraud, betrayal, and now, possibly criminal, it was fraud. My phone buzzed with a message from my mother. "Please, honey, we need to talk. Your father's having chest pains from all the stress. If anything happens to him, it'll be on your conscience." I handed the phone to Rose. She read the message and shook her head. "Classic manipulation," she said. "They're panicking because their whole scheme is unraveling now that the money's gone." "What should I do?" I asked, feeling the weight of years pressing on my shoulders. "You have 2 options," she said calmly. "You can report them and press charges for identity theft. Or you can handle this privately. But either way, Ethan, you have to protect yourself now." I sat there for a moment, thinking about everything. The years of sacrifice, the dreams I shelved so I could take care of them, the lies, the guilt trips, the fake tears, the emotional blackmail. It had always been a game to them, and I had been too blinded by loyalty to see it. "I want one final conversation," I said, "face to face, but I need you there." Rose nodded. "I'll set it up. But first we gather everything and freeze your credit. They've shown you who they really are, Ethan. Believe them this time." That night I barely slept. My thoughts ran through every sacrifice I'd made, the house I never bought, the vacations I didn't take, the savings I should have had. They hadn't just drained my accounts, they'd stolen years of my life, years I couldn't get back. But in the silence of that night, something unexpected happened. For the first time in years, my mind was clear. No more fog, no more second-guessing. Just resolve, cold, sharp, and steady. If they wanted to play games, so be it. But this time, I'd be the one writing the rules. The confrontation was scheduled for Saturday afternoon at Rose's house. That morning, I met with a lawyer to review my legal options. Identity theft, fraud, emotional abuse. I left his office with clarity and a thick file folder of advice. Then I assembled the rest. Bank transfers, screenshots of texts, credit card statements, everything laid out in a timeline. I needed them to see there was no way out, no more lying, no more guilt. When my parents arrived, Chloe came with them. She didn't look like the carefree woman I'd seen in those beach photos. Her face was pale, eyes downcast, ashamed. They filed into Rose's living room like children summoned to the principal's office. I stood by the window, calm and prepared. "Thank you for coming," I said, my voice steady. "There are some things we need to address." "Ethan," my mother interrupted, already tearing up. "Before you say anything—" "You need to know," my mother began. "No," I cut her off. "I'm talking now." I pulled out the stack of credit card statements and laid them on the coffee table. Would anyone like to explain this? The color drained from my father's face. Amy blinked in confusion, but my mother jumped in, quickly, desperately. "It was an emergency. We were going to tell you." "An emergency?" I asked, laying out more documents. Like the gambling debts, the maxed-out credit cards, or maybe Amy's fake acting career. Amy's head snapped toward me. "What do you mean, fake?" I turned to her. "You really don't know? They've been telling me you're in California pursuing acting, that all my money was going toward your rent, your headshots, your classes." Her eyes widened. "What? I've been working part-time at Starbucks. I've been living at home. They told me you refused to help with my tuition." The room erupted. Amy burst into tears. My mother tried to stammer out an explanation, and my father stood up, face red, fists clenched. "Enough," he shouted. "We did what we had to do. You don't understand." "Oh, I understand perfectly," I said, pulling out the last folder. "You committed identity theft. That's a federal crime. I have two options. Press charges or handle this privately. The decision is yours." My mother collapsed into theatrical sobs. "You wouldn't. We're your parents." "Parents don't steal from their children," Rose said sharply. "Parents don't lie, don't manipulate, don't commit fraud." Just then my father clutched his chest and staggered. "My heart," he gasped. "Call an ambulance." For a second I hesitated, but then I saw my mother's face. Not panic, calculation. It was their last card, one final attempt to guilt me back into submission. "No," I said coldly, "no more manipulation." I laid the signed agreement on the table. "Here's what's going to happen. You're going to sign this repayment agreement, every dollar you took. You're going to cancel the fraudulent credit card, and then you're going to leave me alone." "And if we refuse?" my father asked, suddenly standing straight, his heart attack forgotten. "Then I press charges," I said. "And you can explain it all to a judge." The silence that followed was heavy and long. Finally, my father nodded. Defeated. My mother stared at the floor. Her tears had stopped. Amy looked at me like she was truly seeing me for the first time. And maybe she was. They signed the documents my lawyer had prepared. I felt no triumph, no relief. Just a deep, hollow ache for the family I once thought I had. In the weeks that followed, the fragile facade of my parents' life collapsed completely. Without my support, they had to sell the house and move into a cramped apartment. The repayment agreement meant that most of their retirement income now went to paying back the money they stole. It wasn't revenge, it was justice. Amy moved in with Rose while she tried to figure out her next steps. For the first time, I wasn't the safety net. I was just free. Let me know if you'd like to continue or want a version for another audience. She called me one evening. Her voice was small, uncertain. "I had no idea what they were doing," Amy said, "all these years. They were playing us against each other. I'm so sorry, Ethan." Her apology didn't erase the damage, but it meant something. It was a start. My parents made one last desperate attempt to regain control. They showed up at my office, unannounced, causing a scene in the lobby. "We're going to lose everything," my mother wailed, "after all we sacrificed for you." I stood my ground, surrounded by concerned co-workers. "You already lost me," I said calmly. "That's the only thing that matters." And that was your choice. Security escorted them out, and as I watched them leave, for the first time I felt peace. No anger, no guilt, just peace. The weight I'd carried for years, of obligation, guilt, misplaced loyalty, was gone. I was no longer their ATM, no longer their emotional punching bag, no longer their victim. That evening, I booked a solo trip to Hawaii. As I confirmed the reservation, I smiled at the irony. They had tried to shut me out of a family vacation, but in doing so, they gave me something priceless. Freedom. 3 months later, I stood barefoot on a beach in Maui, watching the sky erupt in brilliant shades of orange and pink. It wasn't the family vacation I'd once dreamed of. It was better. My phone, quiet now without the flood of guilt-laced messages, buzzed gently. A text from Rose. They're finally moving out this weekend. Amy's enrolled in community college. She's asking if you'd want to grab coffee when you're back. I took a deep breath of salty air, typed, "Tell her I'm open to it." The repayment plan was working. Slowly but surely, my parents had sold most of their belongings. Each month, a check arrived, not because they were sorry, but because they had no choice. They knew the fraud charges would come down if they missed a single payment. My mother still tried. She'd send dramatic emails from new addresses. "We're eating ramen while you're living in luxury." Is this what you wanted? I deleted them without opening. Their words, once weapons, had lost their power. At work, I'd been promoted again. The energy I used to pour into cleaning up their chaos now fueled my own success. I'd even started house hunting, something I'd shelved for years while bankrolling their lifestyle. Standing there, waves brushing my feet, I finally understood something. Sometimes the happiest endings don't come from forgiveness or reconciliation. Sometimes they come from walking away, from choosing yourself. They'd planned that trip to Hawaii to exclude me, to hurt me, to remind me of my place, but instead, they set me free.